We are tackling a Dynasty one quarterback rookie mock draft. We're going to go 4 rounds, no tight end premium. We figured we'd give you guys who are one quarterback, no tight end premium guys some love because we do tackle some sicko formats like Superflex and tight end premium a lot. We have 12 people in this mock, including Danny and myself. We're going to randomize the draft order and get this thing going. And we'll be sure throughout this to document kind of the discrepancies between our one quarterback rankings and our Superflex rankings and kind of how the dynamic where the tier breaks line up for one quarterback format specifically, because we do ignore you guys very, very often, unfortunately, but we will cover you in today's video. So let's get this draft going. We got Matty Kiwoom over Player Profiler picking first, and then a couple of other industry people, and then just some guys from the audience, from the Discord, and all that kind of stuff. All of our rankings, one quarterback, Superflex, are live and fully up to date over on the site. But let's see some of the changes, one quarterback format-wise versus Superflex.
Yeah, and we were talking off camera. For the most part, you're going to see a lot of similarities between your Superflex versus your one quarterback Dynasty rookie mock drafts, Dynasty rookie drafts in general. The one takeaway will be, where exactly do we value Cam Ward? Obviously, a guy that's being valued as a top 5, top 6 overall asset in Superflex rookie drafts, but we're curious to see kind of how the feel of this mock draft room will have him go off the board. Is he going to be a guy in the mid-second, early second? Maybe he falls to the late second. I would say at some point in the second, we will see Cam Ward's name called.
Yeah, and Jackson Dart, who's more of like a early second round pick in Superflex, probably more of like a third round pick in a one quarterback format. And then, Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Shuck, those type of guys probably barely drafted, if at all, off the board in a one quarterback format. That's the main difference. If you guys play one quarterback, and obviously this is no tight end premium too, tight ends maybe slide a little bit, but the lack of the quarterback position being valued highly maybe means the tight ends still go just as high in this format as they would in the other. So I'm on the board. If I was picking in a Superflex, this is where Cam Ward would go for me. But as of now, I'm deciding between Quinshon Judkins and Emeka Egbuka. For me, I would say team agnostic. You'd have a dynasty roster to work with. You need running backs more. You could go with Judkins. You need wide receivers more. You go with Egbuka. Generally speaking, I would say in a similar situation, I would go with Egbuka because I believe for the most part that he is the better asset to hold long-term. I valued him as a better prospect slightly, and he has short-term a little bit of an issue there in terms of immediate value because of Mike Evans' presence, because of Chris Godwin's presence. But as soon as next year, this is how I see things playing out. 32-year-old Mike Evans, 29-and-a-half-year-old Chris Godwin coming off of ankle surgery. Pretty quickly, I think this situation will clear up. Emeka Egbuka, first-round draft capital versus Quinshon Judkins, second-round draft capital. It's a mini tiebreaker there for me, but you could easily go Judkins if you needed a running back.
Yep. And in this scenario here, I'm at the 109. Again, no tight end premium and the 0.5 premium Superflex rookie mock. You guys can see the whole board there, but I'll basically sum up my first round pick. I ended up going with Colson Loveland. In this one quarterback, no tight end premium. I'll go a little different. I do really like Matthew Golden. He's a guy that you actually took, I believe, at the 112 in our Superflex mock. And I think at the 109 spot, one quarterback league, I think it's a reasonable spot. If he's able to really develop into that true Packers wide receiver one for Jordan Love, we're talking about a guy that in a one quarterback league will be valued higher than the 109 going forward. And one quarterback league, we see Cam Ward actually go off the board at the 110. Would not advise for that personally. Again, everybody knew the rules going into this mock. It was a one quarterback league. But maybe in some leagues, people say, hey, it's the 101, and they take him here. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully that's the process behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's outrageous to take Cam Ward near the end of the first round in a one quarterback draft. I did tell the guy I'd give him a reset if he wants me to take the pick off the board if he didn't know if it was Superflex. But yeah, in a one quarterback league, I could say you could talk me into Cam Ward going as high as 111, 112, 201, but I probably wouldn't take him until about the mid-second round. This is also in a snake format, which I need to fix quickly. There we go. But yeah, for me, Cam Ward is a pretty reasonable mid quarterback too, quarterback 15, 18, somewhere in that range. And those types of players are they're not overly valuable in a one quarterback format. Ideally in a one quarterback league, you have rushing quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, guys like that. Cam Ward, while he gives you a little bit on the ground, is probably not going to give you anything difference making to the point that you would need to take him this high in a one quarterback rookie draft. So for me, I would have gone with Tyler Warren probably as the next player off the board, but Cam Ward is the pick there. So
yep, for sure. Again, personally, in a one quarterback league, he is currently my 19th overall player. So definitely is a reach. And again, I'm assuming he probably knows that if he's taking him there at the 110.
Yeah, it's not like, he went 106 or something and we were like, oh crap, this guy didn't know it was Superflex. But anyways, Other than the Cam Ward pick, I would say there's nothing I really disagree with in the first round so far.
Agreed.
I personally would have went Golden over Caleb Johnson, but I don't think it's an egregious, mispick or whatever. I think in one quarterback format, usually the running back position is pushed up the board a little bit more, especially in a non-tight end premium. I could see somebody taking Caleb Johnson over Loveland, over Warren, but I personally wouldn't do it myself. Hopefully this Tej guy does not auto draft. Don't love to see that, but anyways, probably going to auto draft him Warren, which is fine. Warren is definitely the type of guy I would have taken there anyways. So no harm, no foul. Hopefully he comes back before his next pick. But yeah, RJ Harvey going 201 to me is actually a little bit surprising. I thought he might have snuck into the first round, given that it's a one quarterback format. If you had taken Loveland Warren before that, maybe RJ Harvey sneaks his way into the first round. RJ Harvey is going to be the most talked about rookie in this rookie class because landing spot wise, it doesn't really get much better. Like we all would have hoped that Caleb Johnson or somebody else would have gone to the Broncos, maybe a Judkins or somebody like that. But getting that workhorse role, or at least what we project all to be a workhorse role because they have Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin, is great news for Harvey. And second round capital kind of solidifies him as a really, really solid option.
Yeah, I understand there will be people that take him over, Luther Burden, potentially even high. Like I've seen people say, is he the 108, the 109 in this class? And personally for me, I can't take him over guys like Golden, Loveland, Warren, Burden specifically. But when you're talking about that 1-2 turn, early second area, I think personally that's my valuation where I'd have Harvey. Just specifically here, I can't take him over Luther Burden. In fact, if I was in a draft and I was at the 102 and I had, let's just say, obviously for ease sake in a lot of your rookie drafts, there's going to be a lot of picks that would have been on the move. But for the purpose of just kind of plotting it out, let's say everybody had their 1-1-2, 1-3, 1-4-1, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, etc. Fletsky start at the 1-2 here, getting Hunter and Burden at that 1-2-2-2 area. Absolute smash.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything else has gone pretty much according to plan here because Harvey, Burden, Higgins in some order would have been my, first three picks of the second round as well. Moving out of that tier, because that's actually a tier of mine, the next player for me would have been Tootin. That's who I would have taken over Scadaboo, but Scadaboo would have been the next pick after that. So I don't think that's an egregious selection there. I talked about it a lot in the running backs to target and avoid video, but Cam Scadaboo is the first day 3 running back to ever be selected and have an RB1 upside prospect profile. And RB1 upside prospects hit a 15 plus point per game, like borderline RB1 production at a 64% clip. So the fact that he still ranks that highly and draft capital being a major input of his grade means that he was underdrafted. The NFL, the prospect model thought he should have been a late second rounder, early third round caliber asset. Most of his comps pre-draft, when he had that kind of comparable capital, were guys like Alvin Kamara, some guys going in that range. Like the receiving profile that Scadaboo boasts is really, really impressive for a guy who did end up going on day 3. And as much as I like Tyrone Tracy, I do think that Scadaboo, given the higher investment, given the fact that he was a better prospect by quite a wide margin, at least in terms of the prospect model, is really, really impressive there. So looking at my available picks here, I'm on the board. Like I said, Tootin is my highest rated prospect, but in this tier with Tootin, in case you needed a different position, I do have Kyle Williams in this range. If you wanted to go with a wide receiver instead of the running back there, Jack Besh and Trey Harris, who went off the pick ahead of me, also would be in the conversation for me there. But I am going to scroll down here and go to Byshell Tootin. I love the Jacksonville landing spot. I think a lot of people are going to look at it, think it's very crowded initially, but with ETN in the final year of his rookie deal, Tank Bigsby and ETN, both not drafted by this coaching staff or this GM, they handpicked Byshell Tootin, and he is a lot like Bucky Irving, who Liam Cohen just had a lot of experience coaching. In fact, he's a lot faster and a little bit bigger than Bucky Irving.
Yeah, I think that it was the correct pick, a guy that I'd feel comfortable even taking up to the 203 in a one quarterback setting. A lot of upside there. I can see him totally being this year's Bucky Irving. One thing I will point out, don't worry, once we get to the team 11 and Tej area, I will input, you're actually the leader. I would say input the picks because
I will.
If you're watching this, by the way, Dark Knight and Tej, you are officially banned from ever joining one of our mocks again. So glad that it was fun, amusing, making your one pick. It's never happening again.
There you go. This is why we fire people when they make auto picks. But anyways, I'll input the team 11 pick and probably the Tej pick as well, just to make sure that the mock stays relatively, even in terms of like we don't get auto picked like Isaiah Bond or something like that at the 212.
Yeah, that would not be ideal, especially for those of you that are watching at home. We don't want that to happen. With that being said here, a guy that I actually took at the 210 in our previous mock, I'm just going to go with Kyle Williams. New England Patriots. I love Drake May. Has the opportunity to be the wide receiver 2 there long term. We both like this film. Top 10 wide receiver for us in the class. Goes 69th overall to the New England Patriots there. So yeah,
I'm
let's
going to change this player here into Dylan Sampson just to keep the integrity of the mock draft there. I think Sampson, given the landing spot with Cleveland, they could use a 1-2 punch there at running back. So I'll roll with Dylan Sampson as the selection. Devin Neal, I think that's kind of reasonable, I suppose, if he were to go that high. So I don't think that's an outrageous selection that went there. Jalen Knowles, a little early for me on Jalen Knowles just because of the immediate short-term projection there. Christian Kirk plays the slot. Jaden Higgins was drafted higher. He's going to play on the outside. Yep. And you have, of course, Nico Collins as the main guy. And we also don't know what's going on with Tank Dell. I don't think he'll be ready for the start of the season, but I do think Jalen Knowles could have went to much better landing spots. Like had he gone to your Cowboys, for example, we have a much cleaner projection of what his role would be right away.
Yeah. Likewise for Sampson, although I will say with Sampson's situation, I can very much paint the picture. It could be a similar Ohio State level usage. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins as your main between the tackles, bell carrier, physical back, probably the goal line back. We can see Dylan Sampson maybe getting the Henderson touches in space and used in the receiving aspect of the game.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, he can definitely be used in that regard. What are your thoughts on Devin Neal going to the Saints? Obviously, we don't love the 6th round capital, but I think you and I can both agree that he should have been at the latest, like a 4th round pick. Devin Neal, I think he's a very well-rounded back. Doesn't have like great speed. I think he ran like a 4.57 or whatever at the combine. But this coaching staff, this GM, this regime doesn't really seem to believe in Kendre Miller, nor do they actually invest in Kendre Miller themselves, even though he was a former 3rd rounder. He hasn't really worked out so far. He's been injured. He hasn't really played that well. And Kamara's old.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, obviously the cons for Devin Neal, I mean, 4.58 speed he's a short stature. Yes, he weighed in very large, but kind of plays like a smaller back. Like I was very surprised when I saw he was 220 pounds, given his elusiveness.
213 at the combine, so he's a little lighter there.
Which makes more sense. Again, I thought he was like on film, he looked closer to like a 205, 207 pound back. So that was a pleasant surprise. But regardless, I mean, when you get a back at that size that plays smaller in terms of the elusiveness, the ball carrier moves, the vision, the ability in open space, he's a very good back. The issue, of course, long speed. He's not going to be a guy that's going to burst off a bunch of chunk plays at the next level. But like you said, they have been looking for dependability at their running back 2 spot for how long? They don't trust Kendre Miller. Jamal Williams is not on the team anymore. I think he can end up developing into the RB2 behind Kamara as soon as even midseason.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's an outrageous projection at all. I'm actually going to select a quarterback, even though this is a 1 quarterback draft. In the mid-3rd round, quarterbacks, they only really move the needle in 1 quarterback leagues when they can run. And Jalen Milroe can run. So I probably would have taken DJ Giddens, but I did take him in the Superflex mock. So just to go with a little bit of a different selection, my thought process on Jalen Milroe is this. Sam Darnold effectively on a 1-year contract. I don't think Sam Darnold's very good. I think he was elevated by the great situation that he was in last year in Minnesota. And I think we're going to see more of the same, Sam Darnold that we saw at the end of the season, more so than what we saw most of the season. So I think Sam Darnold's going to have a hard time. I think Jalen Milroe's enough of an investment in the 3rd round. Great kid, definitely works hard enough. I think he's going to do the right things behind the scenes to make this coaching staff give him a chance to start. Desmond Ridder got a chance as a 3rd round pick to start. Sam Howell as a 5th round pick got a chance to start. Malik Willis had opportunities to start as well. I think Jalen Milroe by year 2, maybe even year 1, depending on Darnold's health, could get a chance to get on the field. And in a 1 quarterback league, if you hit on a player like Jalen Milroe, he actually would end up being a reasonable option for you. I'm going to change the Isaiah Bond pick into Trevor Etienne just for the sake of
change Sanders too. It's a 1 quarterback league and he's a 5th rounder. I don't think he has any value.
Elijah Arroyo, 2nd round tight end. Maybe makes a little bit more sense there.
That's reasonable.
But yeah, Milroe, to me, I just feel good about getting an upside swing. In 1 quarterback leagues, swing on the upside of a rushing quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Milroe, like you said, you're not really looking at, sustained starter because realistically, a sustained starter, if he's the quarterback 22 in points per game, is worth absolutely freaking nothing in a 1 quarterback league. May as well take the upside on a guy that, maybe he doesn't start 17 games anytime in the next 2 years. But guess what? If he has a 4 or 5 game stretch where he is a starting quarterback, talking about a guy that you can legitimately start at your starting quarterback spot, a guy that would probably be a consensus top 8 to 10 guy in our rankings, given the fact that he can run the ball at the rate that he can. 4.4 official speed in the 40-yard dash for Milroe. He's the type of asset, like you said, in a 1 quarterback league that actually matters. My pick actually, I got a theme. I'm not going to spoil anything more, but Jarquez Hunter, again, if you guys want the a little bit of the argument, or not even an argument, but just the discussion on Hunter. Myself and Corey actually do disagree on the level of prospect. I was higher on him in the pre-draft cycle. I absolutely love the fit with Sean McVay. So getting him at the 3-9, and again, in a one quarterback league where running back inherently will matter more, sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I just don't think Jarquez Hunter is very good, but frankly, it is a good landing spot in terms of the scheme that he's going to. And I also question, personally, from my end of things, is he going to get a chance really to ever start for this team? Because Kyron is there. Kyron's a workhorse right now. Blake Corum, who I believe is just a much better player than Jarquez Hunter as well. Those two guys would both have to go down with injury, in my estimation, before Jarquez Hunter would be relevant. And maybe Kyron Williams moves on in free agency. We don't exactly know what's going on. It's possible that he could be like a James Cook situation this year and try and hold out and get paid and all that kind of stuff. We'll have to wait and see there. I just am not overly high on Jarquez Hunter, the prospect. In terms of my overall rankings right now, DJ Giddens would have been my highest ranked player. Neal's off the board. Brooks just went off the board. Noel's off the board. Royals is off the board. Gadsden and Jaden Blue would have been my next rated players here, and Gadsden is not off the board yet, so I'm probably going to go with him. I wanted to draft him in the last draft. Aronde Gadsden has a really, really strong prospect profile for a tight end. He was a converted wide receiver, which is sounds like a bad thing for some people, but as far as like a fantasy tight end, that's actually a good thing. We want converted wide receivers as our tight ends. We don't want guys who are going to be 6'6", 280-pound offensive line extensions. We want guys who are 6'4", 245, can get out in open space and catch the football. And with the Chargers, you don't have a ton of established pass catchers there outside of Ladd McConkey. They draft Trey Harris and whatnot, but I think Gadsden can be an integral part of their offense as like a move tight end.
Yep, for sure. And with my final selection here, I'll actually be selecting Jordan James. Does go to the San Francisco 49ers, I believe, in round 5 is where they selected him, if I'm not mistaken.
They went in round 5. Horton, excellent fit for him. Yep. I'm going to swap out Bond again just because I can't because the draft is over. But anyways, Bond, he's got some assault allegations that are going to affect where I don't even believe he signed with the team in undrafted free agency yet.
He's still a UDFA. Yeah, he has not signed anywhere.
Yeah, and even then, like, I mean, it's pretty clear the guy's a knucklehead. Whether he has these allegations true or not, he might end up never playing in the NFL legitimately.
He might end up in jail.
Pick him up unless he's a UDFA.
Yeah, his next team might quite literally be jail. So that's not fun. Just talking about Jordan James real quick before the 2 auto picks again. If you are watching this right now, Dark Knight and Tej, you are never going to be in another one of our mock drafts again. I'm saying that with full sincerity. May look like I'm smiling, but we got to be strict business here. There's people watching on YouTube. We want to make sure it is as functional of a mock as we possibly can. With that being said, Jordan James, like we said, 5th round capital, goes to the 49ers. Don't bring back Elijah Mitchell this offseason. Jordan Mason obviously gets traded to the Vikings. I think for the most part, we're considering, and this is my expectation in general, that Christian McCaffrey will be the RB1. Isaac Guerrero more than likely going to end up being the RB2. But we've seen some foolishness with the 49ers before. We've seen the RB4 have relevant weeks in certain points. Jordan James, again, I didn't think he was a special talent, but think like a Khalil Herbert, tough, hard-nosed runner between the tackles, can give you some utility on the goal line if he was ever to get the call up in terms of workload.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting player. In terms of players that did not go off the board that I still have like ranked decently highly, I think we had Woody go off the board. Pat Bryant went off the board for sure. Arroyo went off the board. Damian Martinez doesn't seem to be getting drafted very often. And I get it's a crowded backfield. Obviously, the Seahawks have Walker. They have Charbonnet. Walker's a free agent after this year. Charbonnet a free agent after next year. It's possible that Damian Martinez works into the backfield. We talked about it in the Superflex one, so I won't waste too much time. But essentially, Chris Carson is the projection here. He's a 7th round pick to the Seattle Seahawks. And I just genuinely think he should not have been a 7th rounder. He should have been a 3rd or a 4th round pick.
I completely agree. And in fact, the fact that the Cowboys took a 1-tech 3 picks, I think, before he went off the board in the 7th round, is like, could you not have just taken Damian Martinez and then the 1-tech? Like, they still ended up getting a guy like Phil Maffa again. Let's compare it straight up right now. Phil Maffa ain't Damian Martinez. I'm not going to pretend like he is.
Yeah, you guys should have taken Damian in the 6th round, realistically. Where you took, did you take Jaden Blue in the 6th round, or where was he, a 4th round?
Round five. And apparently, for another tidbit, if you are wondering, there was a rumor, and I actually saw it in the draft video when they did the call with Jaden Blue, that they were trying to trade up for him for like 7 or 8 picks in a row. So it's clear as day that they really, really sought out trying to add Jaden Blue. So I am interested to see what type of utility he gets, because I think he's a guy that can absolutely work into the backfield in year 1. It's tough to pass on a guy in Damian Martinez. I think he could be a legitimate 15 carry guy in year 1. per game.
For sure. Let's go through round by round here and kind of talk about the picks, grade them, that kind of thing. Jeanty, Hunter, Hampton, McMillan, and Henderson is chalk for us. That's exactly how we would draft it in that exact order as well for the first 5 picks and 1 quarterback. I took Igbuka. Again, you could have taken Judkins. I think it's a big toss-up between those guys. In a tight end premium league of any kind, in 1 quarterback, you could actually talk me into the tight ends as high as that, because in tight end premium 1 quarterback, you do get a little bit more value if you have a great tight end because of the lack of super flex. So if you want
roster spots too.
Less roster spots. If you want to take Warren or Loveland as high as 106, 107 in tight end premium, I would understand it. Caleb Johnson, again, I think a little early for me. I would have gone with Golden and the 2 tight ends over Caleb Johnson, but not the biggest deal. Again, running backs do get pushed up the board a little bit, and Harvey too, I actually think maybe could have gone a little bit earlier, specifically over Ward.
Yeah, if you pushed Ward down, you had the tight ends each slotted up 1 spot, and then Harvey and Burden were also slotted up. I think that makes sense. Again, very early for Ward on this mock. You're not going to see that in the majority of the 1 quarterback drafts.
Maybe you will. Who knows? But first overall pick, maybe
will.
People are just ready to throw him up there. I just don't think a top 15 to 18 quarterback in Dynasty in 1 quarterback is very, very valuable. I think it's probably more, you'd want to take that guy in the mid-second round kind of asset.
Yeah, like for what it's worth, last year, it felt like in a lot of the 1 quarterbacks drafts that I was sent, people asking for advice, like Caleb Williams is going in the early mid-second. So, maybe this is just where he's going to end up going. I tend to believe in the majority of your drafts, if you're looking for applicable information, probably going to be closer to a mid-second, if I were to guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Jaden Higgins, I think he was definitely the next player off the board. That's fine with me. As I mentioned, I have a tier of like Scattaboo and Tootin and Besh and Harris and Kyle Williams. They all go off the board in some order. Tootin would be my first pick of that group because I love the fit with Liam Cohen. I think ETN's on his way out, could potentially even be traded before the season even starts. And Harris and Besh and Williams all have pretty decent opportunity where they're going. You made the case for Kyle Williams when you made the selection, obviously. And Scattaboo, like I said, very highly decorated prospect who fell a little bit further than he should have. The only pick I really disagree with in this round, honestly, is Jackson Dart in a 1 quarterback league. I just don't think he moves the needle either. And same goes for, Devin Neal was an auto pick by the computer. I would have taken him a little bit later than that. And I get the Capitals there for Jalen Knoll, but I am a little bit worried for the immediate projection. I probably would have gone in a couple of different directions there. Mason Taylor, Alec Manor, Jaden Blue, potentially even. There's a couple guys I would have taken over Jalen Knoll. You could talk me into Knoll over Blue. That's totally fine.
Yeah, and in terms of like where you guys might be curious where the quarterbacks might be valued in this area, like a guy like Jackson Dart in a 1 quarterback league, probably going to be on that 2-3 turn. So like you said, I don't think it's outrageous to take him in the second. I just think specifically with a guy like Kyle Williams, Dylan Sampson, a couple of those names, can't take him over Dart. Cam Ward, currently my 19th overall player. So he would kind of be like the head of that tier with the Sampsons, with guys like that. In terms of Jalen Milroe, he's currently my 32nd ranked player. So you got him in the mid-third. I think that's perfectly reasonable. And then in terms of the other 2 quarterbacks, specifically with Shadur and Tyler Shuck, they're literally my 49th and 50th ranked players. So unless I'm getting them in the last pick, I'm not taking them.
Yeah, I have Dart at 27 and Milroe at 29. So they're both to me like kind of mid-third round type of assets. In terms of the rest of the draft, I don't think anything really shocks me. Savion Williams, I know we got 3rd round draft capital, but he's like as bad of a 3rd round pick as we've ever seen go.
Oh, he's horrible.
That high. Only really Isaac Tesla in this draft was a worse reach by the NFL. Like Savion Williams just does not have a good prospect profile. I'd let your league mates draft him, chase the capital. Other than that, I think all these 4th round picks are fine. Krosky Merritt's interesting because of the landing spot in the 7th round, but that's really low capital. So, maybe you want to go away from that. And then again, nobody would take Isaiah Bond because right now he's not even on a team. But Xavier Restrepo, if he gets drafted at the end of the 4th round, I'm willing to spend a pick on him just to make sure that I get him. But I would say definitely if he goes undrafted in your league, priority UDFA because he goes back with Cam Ward as college quarterback. And he should have been drafted 3rd, 4th round, even despite running slow. I don't think he actually is a 4.8 guy. He led all wide receivers this year in boom plays, according to Sports Info Solutions. That doesn't happen if you're a 4.8 guy.
Yeah, I think my problem specifically with Restrepo would just be the fact that you do have Calvin Ridley, you do have Tyler Lockett, you drafted Alec Manor, who we both believe can play some power slot. Might just be with the opportunity, but like you said, he's working with his college quarterback. I'm sure Cam Ward is the one that advocated for maybe even Restrepo to request from agents, say, hey, listen, don't take me in the 7th round because I want to sign with the Titans as a UDFA. We see stories like that happen and emerge all the time.
Yeah, CJ Stroud actually advocated for Tank Dell being drafted, for
Yeah.
example, when the Texans drafted him. So that's the end of this draft. Again, there's a lot of picks that we could go in depth on. I would say, relatively speaking, this went similar to our rankings, a couple things here and there that we highlighted. If you guys are one quarterback players, we do have you covered. We have Dynasty startup rankings for one quarterback. We have super flex rankings, obviously, and we do have our rookie rankings for one quarterback. Of course, even though we are generally a super flex focused channel, wanted to make sure we got you one quarterback bros some content here. And again, there's not a huge difference. Realistically, it's not an excellent quarterback class. So all you have to do really is move Cam Ward down to the early to mid second, move Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart about a round down as well. And then maybe you want to spend a really late pick on Shedeur Sanders or Tyler Shuck. But for the most part, those are the only quarterbacks that should get drafted in a one quarterback league. But if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below any of your thoughts. Check out our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, which is linked down below in the pinned comment. Check out the site for all the other stuff that we have there, prospects tab, my team's feature, trade calculator, everything we got going on over there. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.